Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to the live show. Today, we're talking about what makes a memorable brand. It's going to be a fun conversation. We're going to change things up a little bit different here. We're going to spend some time talking through the bullet points of today's episode, try to give you the meat of it up front, and then we're going to switch over to a little screen sharing, a little more tactical, show you some real examples, and do a Q&A. But before we kick it off, what's going on, Trevor? What's new, man?
Dude, first of all, I'm excited about the format adjustment we're making. And we're going to be coming out with some other kind of conversations with y'all on how we're going to be adding even more value to the Carrot ecosystem, but keep an eye out. Dude, what's going on? So Sydney, she just did a track meet last night. One of the things that we do in the summers is we always have a summer board as a family. We get a big old kind of a colored board, put it on the wall, and we all write down a few things that we want to get done that summer.
Yeah.
And I try to challenge my kids to a summer challenge, like something that is something you wouldn't normally do, that you want to do, might require a little bit of a face and a fear, or just doing something hard. And one that she had tossed out there was like, do a track meet, because she's pretty fast and she's never actually raced against someone. And that was fun, dude. So we went up to Eugene at Hayward Field, like where the Olympic trials were just held.
Yeah.
And there were hundreds of kids there. And
This is just like a one. You can do one-off track meets, like without being in a thing.
they do them every Wednesday in July at Hayward Field for kids,
Sweet. Oh,
12 and under.
I was gonna say I'll show up and smoke some kids. And
That's Thursdays. That's Thursday. So Thursdays it's the 13 and over, so you can smoke some 13-year-olds if you want to
okay.
go.
Sweet. I'm down.
But yeah, dude, she did great. So I was proud of her. Just a cool father, daughter moment. But there was a bunch of 9-year-old girls there, like dozens, and she finished second on the 100, second on the 200.
Nice.
And the ones who finished first, or she was the only one that finished in the top two on both races.
Yeah.
The one that finished first in the 100 was way down in the 200, and the one that finished first in the 200 wasn't even anywhere to be seen the 100. So
Wow,
that's pretty
wild.
cool.
What a confidence boost, man.
It was fun.
What a confidence boost. That's so cool.
Yeah. Other than that, the top two and Carrot. I'm excited about that big time. We're bringing some heat, guys. We're going to be bringing some heat. So keep an eye out for some cool things coming your way very imminently on the SEO feature side of it, but then massive innovation coming soon.
I'm excited too, man. I'm excited. Cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Sweet. Well, let's kick it off. If you guys have any questions along the way, put them in the chat. We'll answer them when we go into the Q&A portion. But yeah, we're going to talk about how to create a memorable brand. Let's kick it off.
Let's do it.
All right, so what makes a brand stick in your head and others flop? We're talking about big brands and small brands. What makes them memorable? How does your competition consistently close more deals over the long haul? Well, the good news is Trevor and I just got finished reverse engineering 5 really highly successful real estate investors' brands to help you replicate the 7 specific things they're crushing when it comes to branding and marketing. And a lot of them are probably not what you think. So I'm really excited about this episode. These are investors and members y'all might be familiar with. You've probably heard them talked about on the podcast or in workshops before, but we're going to dive into it. And then, yeah, we're going to do a Q&A afterwards on the non-live portion. But Trevor, I'll kick it off with you, man. Why does it matter? Why does building brand matter if I can just generate leads? If I can buy leads, cold call, close deals, and really within context of the Google leak that just came out. Why does this even matter?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you don't have to build a brand, right? It's the same thing as, does everyone have to do SEO? No, you don't have to. Does everyone have to have a website? No, you don't have to have a website. But all of those can massively help you get a better result. They can help you bring more consistency in your leads. They can help you get a result and an outcome that you won't be able to get in other types of marketing. And so at a high level, a brand, I almost see a brand, Brady, as like a moat. It's a moat that you get to create. If you literally think about a castle, I was just over in Ireland a couple months ago with my family, and we saw a bunch of castles. And there were several of the castles that had moats. Like, most of them were sitting on top of a hill, but there were a couple that had the remnants of a moat and like a drawbridge. And when you think about what a moat actually is It's the thing that protects the main thing, right? The moat by itself doesn't do all the work. The moat by itself doesn't really have a lot of value unless it's protecting the castle and all the people in it and what it stands for. And so that's what I kind of see as a brand. A brand is the thing that wraps around your company, around your service, around your value proposition, like we talked last week. Your brand wraps around all of that and creates a protective moat around you, makes everything else work better.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, because I think we'd be remiss if we try to do a podcast and sold everybody on the fact that you have to build a brand or you're going to die, because you guys know that's not true. But yeah, it's going to be the thing that carries you through shifting markets, or when other marketing methods fall out or stop working.
Or when there's high competition, like we talked last week on value proposition. So if you guys did not listen to that episode on value proposition and really differentiating, go back there, because that's almost step one.
This is the 1-2 punch.
Exactly.
These go hand in hand.
That's step one. You've got to do one with the other. You aren't going to get the same impact. Like you're saying, if you just create a killer logo and this cool like cartoon guy. So if Geico didn't have the value proposition that they could save you 15% in 15 minutes, and they just had a cool logo with a gecko, they would fall flat, right? It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they just had a value proposition that was save 15 minutes or 15% in 15 minutes or whatever, and they didn't have the brand awareness and the affinity of the brand and the feeling for what that feels like, then all of a sudden they're just competing against every other discount insurance carrier out there who has a similar price. And so if you're competing on price over and over again as an investor or an agent, if you're an agent in the new NAR lawsuit happened a few months ago that is kind of attacking a little bit the buyer commission side of things, which there's ways around it, and people are really smart to make sure you're still adding value to the client.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you have two agents side by side and they both are offering a similar value proposition, I can list your house for this price. It's pretty, and one of you isn't a better brand or more trusted or whatever your brand is, then they're going to pick on price.
Yeah, absolutely.
Price and convenience. That's it.
Yeah, I love that analogy too, because I came from insurance. I had my insurance license for a little bit, and I worked for Farmers for a bit. And most insurance companies are 90% the same. They're not doing anything different. But some of those brands are really sticky.
Yeah.
For me right now, it's Liberty Mutual. It's like they're so sticky and so memorable. And their whole value proposition is only pay for what you need. But that's literally what every insurance company is. Like you pick and choose your the types of insurance that you need. It's like they just positioned it differently. They saw, anyways.
And they wrapped the brand around it intentional. So we'll talk about ways that you can do that as an investor, as an agent, as any business really listening to this, home services contractor, because there are some things you can do. And I think they're not as complex or complicated as people think that they are. You don't have to be a big company to have a good brand in your local market.
Yeah. All right, well, let's dive into it. We'll do this. We got 7 things, Trevor. We'll try this. I'm going to talk about I'll talk about the first one. I'll kick it over to you. And we'll just do that for each of these 7.
Cool.
So the first out of the 7 things is, across the board, you have to be different from your competition. That's the common thread that weaves all of these other 6 things together. You have to be different from your competition, which means you can't do all of this. You can't build a brand while ignoring what your competition is doing. Because obviously you're going to end up possibly doing the same thing as the guy next to you. So this is for your color, your font, your messaging, your voice, etc. You have to do intentional research about your competition to consider all of these elements. So as we talk about some of these specific things, you need to research those specific things amongst your competition to find out what they're doing and what they're not doing.
Yeah, and you want to make them cohesive, right? Like you mentioned, across the board. What I'll see a lot of people do is they'll have the website that kind of looks like this, and then their ads look like this, and then they show up to a house looking like some other look. And what I really encourage people to do, it doesn't mean you got to wrap your vehicle with your brand. I'm not saying that, but if you're showing up and we have a client, the kind house buyer, If you show up and you're grumpy, oh, that's a brand mismatch. Like that doesn't work. So if your brand is that I'm the kind house buyer, you should show on that website things that lend itself towards that brand. Your ads should probably have ads to show you smiling and show you with clients who are happy. And when you show up to that house, you might wear a shirt with a logo on it. Maybe not. I don't think that matters as much unless your brand is professionalism and we're all showing up with our collared shirts. But you should show up kind if you're the kind house buyer.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So differentiate yourself, be really consistent. If anyone listening or watching this has wrapped their vehicle, I'd love to hear about it or see it. Put it in the Facebook group because I haven't seen anyone do it yet.
I've got one, man. I'll find it. So Dolmar Cross, a good friend of mine, he has a TV show, a zombie house flipping. He has this giant, I don't even know what it is, dude, but I saw it in Tampa last year when I was speaking at an event. He pulls up in this machine. I mean, it seemed like it was a mix between a Hummer and an army tank. And the whole thing is wrapped in their house buying company's brand. I think they literally call it "We Buy Zombie Houses" or something.
We Buy Zombie. That's fantastic.
But it's pretty colorful. It's got character.
It's niche.
Yeah, it is niche.
Colorful. That's a good way to describe it. Okay, number 2. So we got differentiate yourself, be consistent. Number 2 is the emotion, the voice, and the tone. This really what we're talking about. This is the synthesis of your brand, but this is something that's harder to articulate, and it's all encompassing. But it's the impression and the feeling that people get. So, are you professional? Are you fun? Are you serious? And this can come out by accident, or you can be intentional about it. Like Keith with Kind House Buyers, he's a kind guy. He just went with who he is. So it's kind of dependent on your business model. But yeah, anyways, so. Are you human? Are you friendly? Are you approachable? I think the important thing with this to remember is like if you're one person, this is easy. It's just, this is who you are. But if you build a team, your team needs to be able to know and follow the brand, the voice, and the tone.
Especially if your company name is named after you, like Brad Buys or something like that. And so we have to ask the question, like, who's Brad? What is Brad about? What is Brad's tone? And that needs to be a part of that brand, because then anyone who is not Brad who hops on a phone call with the seller, or if it's Brad, real estate, and if it's a buyer's agent that's representing Brad's organization, there needs to be some sort of cohesiveness between Brad's tone and the way he shows up and the way that other person shows up for the company too. So you hire based off of the brand, which really goes down to core values. But the main thing we're talking about here is everything that someone experiences with your company, whether they see it, they feel it, they touch it, they have a conversation with it. Everything ideally should be thought from that perspective of how does this touch point mold and shape the overall impression someone has on our company, and is this touch point reinforcing the overall impression we want people to have? You just got to be really, really clear. What is that feeling? What is that impression you want people to walk away from? And then ask, where are they experiencing touch points with us? Everything needs to be cohesive, including the tone, voice.
And big brands are really good at that. Like, the feeling that McDonald's gives you versus like O'Reilly's Auto Parts or Lowe's or a Harbor Freight. You know, they have a certain feeling.
Exactly.
Okay, next thing, logo. This is like one of the biggest offenders, man. If anybody has a logo that doesn't have a house in it, hit the like button or do something to let us know. There's very few people. It's hard to do. So you need to have elements that stand out, that are different than the competition. And the big thing, like Trevor mentioned, is that your colors are consistent through all of your marketing. I think what I'll see is people will say, okay, this is my logo. It's got a blue house in it. I need to make sure that everything is blue. And people don't get that specific color code, that X color code. Document it somewhere and put it in a Google Doc so that your team knows, okay, anytime we're using the blue, this is the exact shade of blue. Bo says I don't. I have a hard time believing that because his logo's blue. Interesting. Bo, come on, man. But anyways, use blue. There's a tool. I'll link it up if I can remember later. I think it's called Color, but it's where you can plug in your one primary color and it'll pull up accenting colors for you. Super powerful. It's a way to get like matching colors, but just have something that stands out, is a little bit different and consistent, and like, I don't know, pay more than $5 or $50 to get a logo. Like, you're going to have it for years and you're not going to replace it maybe ever. Like, invest some money into a really cool logo that you're proud of
Yeah.
instead of just going to Fiverr and trying to find something, the fastest, cheapest option.
And it could be simple, right? Like literally, Open Door. Open Door is a big old company. Their logo is literally just font. So what we're not talking about, guys, a logo as in it has to have all these fancy graphics. I would actually suggest to you that there's not a bunch of fancy graphics. It's simple to get to the wording of what your company is in some way, shape, or form. And there might be an icon. If you kind of think of Carrot or Simply Sold, these examples. And going back to color, where at least for me, like I'm talking about branding at the highest level. At least for me, when we started Carrot, I was really intentional with looking at all the different companies in our space because I wanted to build a brand. People recognize it, brand just yourself, right? And looked at it, I said, well, what colors is no one in our space really owning? A couple companies in the lead generation space had already been blue and green, and no one had done orange. I didn't want to do a company around red that wasn't kind of my color. And so then the Carrot idea kind of popped out within that 1 or 2 week span. I'm like, cool, I can own the color orange. And so when you look at the color orange in our industry, if you're halfway aware of Carrot, you probably will connect that with Carrot in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Right. So you want to own that color. Bo, in your market, how do you own the color blue, which is hard to do today, but how do you own the color blue in your space of buying houses in Louisville as an example?
Oh, and I misinterpreted Bo's comment. He said him saying I don't was in response to not having a house in the logo. He doesn't have a house in the logo. Bo is consistent with his colors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Number 4, face forward. So what we found, and this is not saying that you have to be face forward, you have to have a literal face in your marketing, but this is just a common thread that we found in these 5 people in the Carrot ecosystem who are really standing out, getting a lot of leads, closing deals consistently. Home buying guys, they animated their faces from some guy on Fiverr, and that's literally their logo. For Bo, he's in videos, so you can't get on his website, you can't get on any page without accidentally coming across a video where he's up front and personal, and it's him. So face forward, it's a lot easier. Especially in our space to be a sticky brand when you have a person, when you have a personality in front of the thing. Yeah, that's the common thread through all 5 of these.
And one big thing people might be saying is, well, Zillow doesn't have a face, or Open Door doesn't have a face, right? It goes back to the value prop though.
Yeah.
So Zillow and Open Door are really, their value proposition is more about data and speed. So you don't really need a face or a character if it's data and speed. Yeah. But if you're looking at Geico or Liberty Mutual or the other ones,
you almost called it Liberty.
I did, dude. I almost called it Liberty Bibberty. But when you're looking at them, a good hunk of it is people want to work with the company they relate to, and they need to talk to people to make that happen at those companies. Very rarely do you go get a insurance policy, you don't talk to a person.
Right.
And same thing with real estate. So that's where it can be valuable having some sort of a character, or a face behind it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and face forward, like for testimonial's sake too. Like Bo has a lot of testimonials where he's in the testimonial. I think data would probably back this up, but I think you being in the testimonial in the video is going to make it more powerful. That's 4. Number 5 is omnipresent and consistent with your marketing. So you're not just doing 1 or 2 marketing methods. You're hitting people everywhere they go, everywhere they are, you're showing up. So Google through SEO, through evergreen marketing, Google Ads, pay-per-click at the top of search results, at least for brand search, like when someone Googles your company name. Facebook ad, physical marketing mediums like, pamphlets at events or books, things like that, t-shirts that your team's wearing, you're proud of your brand and you're wearing it everywhere you go. So omnipresent, I can't think of one person in this entire list who has not gone all in on their brand. Yeah. It's more than just like, oh, okay, we have our website, and then sometimes people go to it when we call them. Their brand is everywhere.
And dude, one thing too that we'll do in the open Q&A portion of these shows is might today kind of dive into ChatGPT and show how you can create a simple brand guide by asking it questions. I was doing it yesterday, starting a project for the Epic site, so we can kind of buy my time back on some things. You literally just ask it questions, and it'll tell you, well, you need to put these things on brand guide. Then I go, cool. What questions would you ask me right now, and I'll just give you answers to make my brand guide for me. And it did it. So we'll kind of show you guys how to do that in the Q&A portion after this podcast closes.
I'm excited for that. Number 5 was be omnipresent and be consistent with your marketing. Don't rely just on marketing. Number 6, have a compelling value proposition. We're not going to talk about that because that was last week's entire episode, but have a compelling value proposition. Number 7, clear, compelling copy and layout on your website that's easy to navigate. None of these brands had obviously they're all with Carrot. Listening to Carrot's podcast, these are all customers of ours that are crushing it. Most of this is because they're built on the Carrot platform where it's already formatted and laid out. The website is structured in a way that Google loves and that's easy for people to navigate because that matters for SEO and for conversion. But they've done a little bit of extra work too, just to really break it up, add local images and things like that. So really clear, compelling copy, really good value proposition on the website, and the website's easy to navigate. Most people, when they find out about a brand, they're going to Google it. They're going to go website sucks. You're not sticky.
Yep.
They're not going to remember you.
Yep.
If a website's too difficult to navigate, they're going to lose interest and bounce.
100%.
So all of your marketing efforts, like we always talk about, like your website's the hub, they're going to go to your website. And if your website sucks, all your marketing efforts are wasted.
Dude, and the website itself, like that is the epicenter of your brand. And so use it as that way. I know we'd mentioned it, we're not going to bring up, if I just through these real quick, because that talk logo organized, people can't see it. What do you think? Am I breaking the rules?
You are breaking the rules. That's okay. Well, we'll wrap that conversation. We'll end the podcast portion for everybody listening. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you want to hop on and see these visuals, we do it live in the Facebook group and on YouTube every single week. So that's the podcast. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week. But let's jump into the Q&A and we'll share some examples here.
Build that brand, y'all. Sweet.
Awesome. We good, Braden? We're still rolling?
We're rolling. We're rolling.
We're changing things up. Bear with us. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Let's share some examples. Can I share? You care if I share one thing before you jump into the examples? Of course,
go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Let me share my screen here. Share screen. Okay. So I want to share this because when I started working for Carrot about almost 6 years ago, we did not have hardly any brand guidelines.
Yep.
This matters if you're a real estate investor, you're like one person, you're like, okay, this is way too much. Like, I don't, how do I document this? How do I do this? If you're one person, it's different. Like you are the whole brand. As soon as you start to add team members, you need to start documenting that. For us, I think it started in Google Doc.
Yeah.
Eventually, we hired a product designer or a graphic designer, and then another graphic designer, and so we evolved into this brand guidelines over time. But it started really simple. It was like Trevor's writing copy, and then Brady's writing copy, and Trevor's like, "Hey, sure, do your like this." So it's consistent with the brand. That's it. But if you go to brand.carrot.com, this is like the 10 out of 10 version of like brand guidelines. So we've got our logos, we've got our colors. So if I click on this, it's like our main colors, all of our accent colors, our primary colors, our accent colors. Katie's going to kill me. I'm not using the right vernacular. Typography, all our different fonts, all our icons, illustrations, our photo style and our video style so that we can make sure like our coloring and lighting is consistent, or we at least aim for that in all of our content and design examples. So if you're a real estate investor, like a business owner, the main things that matter are your logos, consistent colors, and consistent fonts. Like you nail those things across your marketing and your website, then that gets you most of the way there. So that's what a brand guideline looks like 10 out of 10, but just start simple. And the last thing I'll show you guys here, we're at messaging. Explore messaging. You can actually find out Carrot's messaging, like we're confident but not cocky, encouraging and friendly but not cute and bubbly. I wrote this a few years ago. It's still pretty much the same thing, but this is how we talk at Carrot. It's how we talk naturally in most scenarios, but we just have one thing to point the entire company to say, hey, this is how we do our marketing. This is how we talk with people. So
like you said, we did not start here, right? We built. I mean, that's been more for like 5 years. So
Yeah.
we started with on somewhere, and one of the reasons that's important. So a lot of you are probably running Facebook ads, or you might be working with someone running Google ads or doing direct mail or something like that. And especially anytime we're working with somebody else who's going to be creating copy for us or messaging on an ad, that's probably where I would share that. And really start with probably tone
Yeah.
of voice, how you write, and then the basic aesthetic. You know, are you a lot of white space with a big blue button on everything, or are you really dark stuff, or the general aesthetic? And you start there, and then you'll be good to go. And then kind of my rule of thumb is as you go and as you see things that you're like, oh shoot, that doesn't really represent what I want my brand to be. Write down why.
Yeah.
Write down, oh, well, I never thought about it, but the reason I don't like that for my company is X. Write that down, because that's probably a brand guideline for you that you've never thought of that would be important to put down. So just build it as you go.
It's good.
For
Let's some examples. We'll go back up to the top of this list. Let's see, emotion, voice, and tone. We could talk about that, or we could talk about logo too. If you want to pull up some examples, we'll show you guys what these brands look like.
Yeah, we'll bop through a few examples, and then what I'd encourage everyone to do is, if you have any questions or want us to look at if you're on live and you want us to look at your brand, your website, be happy to look at it with you.
Yeah, I do know we have one or two questions. We'll get to them after we share some examples, but about brand that we'll touch on too. That came in throughout the week.
I love it. Yeah, let's pull up my screen and we'll kind of bop through a few of these. Now, these are examples where they are they're real estate investors. About half of them are agents as well. So we've got a bunch of hybrids in there. And we're going to show you different examples for different reasons, okay? Because at the end of the day, there's a million ways to do brand. The main thing that we're saying is, what is it that people identify about you and your company? What is the feeling that they get from that? And then do you make sure that you're consistent across all of your marketing all the time, right? So this one here, the home buying guys. So number one, buying, selling, helping is kind of their tagline.
Yeah.
They're down in Dallas, Texas. So you can see they're already starting to shape what their brand is about. It's not just about, highest offer. We're gonna get you the best price. Maybe that's part of it, but it's really, hey, we're here to help you. And we're going to be friendly. There's two friendly, smiling dudes in that logo. Okay. Now, what I usually suggest to literally put someone's face on the logo. Not usually. That's not usually my jam. I think it works here. If I were to simplify something here, I'd probably take, one of these two icons and kind of. I think it's too icon heavy at the moment if I were to give any criticism, but it works.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say not to go use it. Where like the face and the logo, I think, is really, really good. And the reason it works for this one is because it's literally called the Home Buying Guys.
Yeah.
Right. So you look at it and go, oh, well, there's guys and they must be home buying guys there. So it works. But if your company name, or if your company name was Brad Buys Houses, cool. It could work to put an icon of your face there if it's a cartoon face. So normal face is just weird. Like if you put your normal face in your logo, like that's weird.
Agents, tune in.
Yeah,
Listen,
exactly.
Don't put it's not all about your face.
I think that's weird in your logo.
Sorry.
But if it's a cartoon, then all of a sudden it becomes a character.
Yeah.
Right. That works. Where I think it wouldn't work is like Chattanooga Buys Houses.
Yeah.
That's weird to put a cartoon face of yourself there. I'd probably put something else there.
Or like another one I see is like the outline of a county or an outline of a state. Like, it's usually only recognizable to you because you live in that county or state. Most people are going to look at it and be like, what's happening here? What is this squiggly line?
And if people really do recognize the outline of that state, cool. Or that county, cool. But if a lot of people may not, get rid of it.
Only Texas and Florida. It's the only place you can get away with that.
Exactly. But the rest of the way through here, like I said, this isn't perfect. We're just showing you guys examples where people are starting to build brand. So you go down in here, here's the Home Buying Guys, buying, selling, helping. That's part of that brand, part of that value prop. And now here's the real dudes. Okay, they're real. And are they actually helpful? Well, they have reviews and ratings, and they're 5 stars. So it backs part of that up. They have some videos. Their brand colors are there. You see on the YouTube video, and even in their office. And I've been into their office. They have their logo there. It's branded. There are other materials. You look at the vest that he's wearing. It's literally Home Buying Guys, and it's got their logo on it.
One of our bullet points for this episode was face forward. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 8 faces on
There's
the
a
thumbnail
lot
of
of
this
faces
video.
on that one. They're doubling down on brand, right? Which I love. So that's a good example. And like I said, guys, when they are called the home buying guys, not guy, you
Yeah.
see in a lot of their content is both of them in it. It doesn't mean both of them always have to be in it, but oftentimes they are. It helps with that brand. We're a couple dudes who are out there buying houses. We're here to help you.
Yeah. You know, one thing I want to mention, because this comes up, is like people have concern over, like, some people want to build a brand that focuses on themselves. Like in this instance, home buying guys. Some people want to do that, but they don't because they don't want to be the face of the business forever.
Yeah.
And so they don't do that. But the one caveat I'd say, flip side of that coin, is that there's a way to pass off brand. We've done it at Carrot.
Yep.
You know, we had a lot of overlap. We got on podcasts together and we slowly made a transition, and we do content together still to where now we're both faces for the brand. Dave Ramsey, I bring this up because if giant companies can do it, smaller companies can do it.
Yep.
Dave Ramsey is the guy. He's the finance guy. And I know, I'm sorry, a lot of you guys hate Dave Ramsey. I'm sorry to bring him up. Push your buttons. But he passed off and created all these different brands under him, and he had his hosts or he had his co-hosts join him on podcasts and videos and whatnot. And so if Dave Ramsey can pass off brand that was exclusively built on his personality, anyone can do it. So don't let that stop you.
And it's because those co-hosts adopt a lot of the same things, right?
Yeah.
Like with you and I, we're different people. We have different approaches.
Yeah.
But if you were a completely polar opposite, type of a host where people are like, oh, shoot, that is not what I'm used to with Carrot,
Right.
it wouldn't work. But Brady's got his own personality. He's got his own things he's way better than me at. But he brings forward the essence of Carrot, the brand, and what we're about, which is really killer.
There's enough overlap. We're already aligned on those things.
Yep, exactly. Well, we'll kind of buzz through a few more. So this is an example, kind of once again going into the name. So we want to bring a couple name-related brands in here because a lot of investors and agents name their company after themselves in some way, shape, or form. So you can still make that work. And one of the ways to make that work, especially if you do want to eventually have someone else running the company, or you want to buy yourself time and move out of the company eventually, you can do what they've done and cartoonize themselves, right?
Yep.
So now Jamie, she's a real person and a real client of ours in Texas, crushing it. But also, Jamie could be the brand that isn't the person showing up and buying the house potentially. But you see the color palette matches. When we have a call to action button, the button just needs to contrast.
Yep.
So it doesn't need to be orange. The reason we picked orange is partially brand. You see an orange button, but man, it's subconscious, it's Carrot. But the real reason we picked orange is because the general branding of most people's websites is usually like a bluish palette or maybe some greens and things like that.
Yeah.
We found that orange actually contrasted from the most common branding colors out there. So when you launch a Carrot website from scratch, the orange button is going to stand out and contrast from the most amount of Carrot clients' websites, depending on your brand color.
Yeah. And so in this way, like, it's for Jamie buys houses, it's matching, it's on brand, but it's not matching the color that's plastered everywhere.
Exactly.
She wouldn't want a pink website with a pink button.
Yep.
The other thing, I don't know if most people will notice, but I'll call it out. Scroll back up to the header real quick. The hero image, there's an overlay on this image, like a gradient. Might be an overlay or it might be a gradient, but either way, it's an overlay.
Yep.
Overlay that is the color of her brand. It's this like minty greenish teal. It's very subtle, but it goes over that photo and it just ties it into the whole thing. So
And that's easy to do, y'all. You just pop into your content, go to pages, find whatever page you're wanting to do that on. And I was seeing if I could just quickly navigate my way over there and just see if I can get in there. But if you get in there, go find the page. If this takes more than 30 seconds, I'll just explain it, or we'll send you a tutorial on it. But let's say I'm going into here. I'm sure there's one over here, right? So I'm gonna dive into this page. I'm gonna edit the page. And if you want to kind of use some of those brand overlays, you go into that page editor. You can see we're working here on the hero section. And this is where you manage that hero section. So you can choose a color or a gradient overlay. And she's chosen one of these colors. And then you make it so it has opacity to it. So it's set at 50% opacity. But I can dial this down to be way less. I can dial it up to be way more. And way less means you just see more of the actual picture and less of the color overlay. Way more means you see way less of the the picture, way more of the color overlay. It looks more
Yeah.
solid. So that's a quick, simple way to still drive conversion, but make your site look a little bit more the way you want to make it look.
Yeah, I like that one, man.
Cool.
Who else we got?
Let's
We
pop
got
through a few more.
Jamie
So
buys houses. We
yeah, I've got Anthony Beckham up, who's a agent first, investor second, and we've used 2 named brands. So once again, we're trying to use ones that are not named about you, and we're going to use some other ones that are also not named yet about you. But here's one that is literally the person's name. Okay, so the Beckham Group. I'll go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say something interesting. So, I mean, Anthony Beckham's local to us, so he's more top of mind for us. We see his marketing in our city, but he's got 2 brands right now. I don't know the story behind having these 2 brands, but maybe he's trying to transition away from it all being around his face, Anthony Beckham, because he's been the guy in videos. But at the top of his website, he has this different, better real estate.
Yep.
I noticed that sign pop up at his office a few months ago. I like that. I think that's some sort of value proposition.
Yeah, it
Everyone's
shows
used to the
something's different.
same real estate model. Everyone does transactions the same. It's like, okay, what are they doing different? You don't have to draw people in.
And the thing that I get too with this, and this is kind of part of that brand once again, is that icon on there represents something. It's not just an icon. When I look at it, there's a house in there, and a lot of real estate related ones have a house. Or if it's home services, I'll see some variation of like some sort of a tool or like a breeze blowing if it's an HVAC or something like that.
Yeah.
But what I see more than anything is it looks like it's like a message notification type of a thing.
Yeah,
It's a message
conversational.
bubble. Exactly. Which to me, that's a mobile thing. That's a mobile message, which deep under there, I don't know if he meant this, but I'm looking at it going, oh, he's probably like up on the technology.
Yeah.
And it's different, better. And what do you see here? This is part of their branding. Everybody's pretty decently young and vibrant looking in that picture.
Oh, I thought you were going to say blue.
They have a lot of blue in there. Yeah, there's some blue.
Or red hair.
Which is good, right? Because that's part of that brand, I think, too, because they have a blue button and some blue shirts. But in general, if I were to, in Douglas County anyway, if I were to say, what does the average successful real estate brokerage look like in Douglas County? It's probably someone who's been in the business for 30 years. And they're not this group of 20-somethings. Right. So once again, if I'm looking at brand, I think that is a core part of that brand. Hey, we're different, we're better. And we have this little message thing, which a person in that demographic would probably recognize that. And then you start to show, man, this is a young, vibrant group of individuals, and it's different. Let's see. He backs up with video. So once again, he then talks about in this video how they are different and kind of shows once again that demographic that they're looking at working with. Let's see. There's a couple more that we had brought up. So Laurel is another one that is a name-based one. So we had a chance to connect with Aaron, who runs a lot of Laurel's marketing. And Laurel's an amazing business down in Sacramento. And Aaron came up here for Carrot Camp. And guys, if you want to meet this type of person, and accelerate your business, grow amazing connections, we have our Carrot Camp event. The seats just opened up recently. You go to carrotcamp.com. That's carrotcamp.com. No matter if you're listening to the recording of this, you can still go there, find out when the next event is. But carrotcamp.com, 15 limited seats. They'll fill up quickly. Erin came up and she unveiled how they've built this business that is a multiple 7-figure company with way innovative marketing approaches, and they brand big time down there.
This is probably one of my favorite examples. And one of the things that Erin did when she came aboard with Laurel is get their branding guidelines together, because Laurel had a team that they were using different colors. It wasn't always the same shade of blue, and it was inconsistent, which just results in like not being as sticky, not being as consistent. It feels a little hodgepodge, you know? So they got a logo, they're consistent with their colors. One of my favorite little things that the common thread with Laurel is that hat. She said they run TV ads in Sacramento, and you talk about sticky. She wears that hat on her TV ads when she walks her dog. It's everywhere, and people know her. And actually, I think there's Google, there's actually search volume for like lady with the black hat, or like lady with hat buys houses in Sacramento. Like people are searching those sort of terms to try and find her.
Heck yeah.
But if you, I don't know if it'll let you, it's not going to let you zoom in to Chrome, but in her favicon, that's her little 200 by 200 pixel website logo. It shows her, it's her logo with a black hat hanging over the corner of it. and that little black hat is everywhere. That's super sticky. So you don't
is.
have to have it, but
No.
for her, she was already wearing the hat. She loved it, sentimental value, and it became recognizable. So she went all in on it.
Yep.
You know, kind of
And,
by
and it's something different, right? Because there's not another person out there like identifying in that
Yeah.
way and wearing that hat,
Dude,
which is really, really cool.
I think like to me, like one of the best examples of like a stickiest brand, hands down, Savannah Bananas.
Yeah.
Dude,
I see
Savannah
his content
Bananas,
all the
man.
time.
The yellow, like what an amazing story, but like how bold to say I'm just gonna start wearing a yellow suit
Yep.
before it's cool while this brand
With
and
a
this
top
baseball
hat.
team is nothing. Yeah. And I'm just gonna own it until it takes off. And
Yeah.
it took years, but it finally took off. And now it's like
They're
yes,
filling up stadiums, dude. I
It's
saw the other day
insane.
they were in Washington. I think it was Washington, like Washington D.C. And it's 45,000 person stadium.
my
They filled up, and that's
gosh.
all brand, dude. 100% all brand because Major League Baseball clubs right now are not filling up their stadiums every time.
No.
Savannah Bananas comes in with a different idea, a different value proposition. One of their value propositions is we want to come in here and have you be able to go to a game and have an experience for, I think their number was like under $50.
Yeah.
Now, if you buy a ticket now, you either have to get in their lottery to even get a ticket at the $50 price or whatever, or they're on the secondary market for like hundreds.
Yeah.
But this is the importance with branding and value proposition is we want to make it a family friendly event where you can just go and enjoy and not have to worry about money once you get there. You literally go there and you want a soda pop, you go get a soda pop. You want a hot dog, go get a hot dog. It's just all included when you get there. There's no exchange of money with food and things like that when you get there.
Yeah.
That's part of it. We want a brand of wholesome family entertainment around baseball right now. I'm sure he'll expand outside of baseball
Yeah.
someday, but to where it can truly be for most anybody with any means, and you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars per person to go experience something like this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's wild.
We'll buzz through a few more. So the last two I'm going to show are non-named focused. Okay, no name at all. Okay, and you'll see some similarities here. So Sold Fast is Ryan Dossie, one of our clients. And if you were to look at this site here, you notice it looks quite different from a normal carrot site. Many people might even look at this and go like, is this a carrot site? And the answer is heck yeah, it is. This is a carrot site. This was done through our concierge service. So if anyone is looking to get a high performing, the fastest websites in the market are carrot sites. I was running some page speed tests again a few weeks ago, and I showed some on one of these calls, and we had a site, a homepage with 1,500 words on it that performed at a 98 or a 99 performance score. And on that same site, I rolled out a landing page that I don't see this very often, but 100 out of 100 performance score on that puppy, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
So you can
wild.
have the highest performing of carrot and the customization. So a few things here. Once again, what is the brand? The brand is about speed. Okay, it's about speed here. That's the value proposition. It's about speed, and also about ease. So we don't just want fast, we also want to make it easier. So they talk about that ease. Down here in the testimonial, we talked about this last week with Value Prop. Hey, it was easy process. But what do they do with the brand? You can see it's cohesive. They have a really simple logo, not complicated, because we want to focus on the name Sold Fast, because the name itself is very descriptive.
Right.
When you have a brand or a company name that is descriptive, let the words speak for themselves and don't let an icon distract you. Okay?
That's good.
So if you're person focused, Jamie Buys House once again, then you probably will need to lean in on some of the graphics and things like that. Okay, but let the name carry that through. But then you'll see even when people sell their houses, they have a sign sold to soldfast.com. If you go down here and look at all these testimonials, they're bringing that in. So when these clients sell that house, they've got the big old branded thing, sold to Sold Fast. And it starts to reinforce that. The way that the videos are done reinforce that. The way that he does his ads reinforce it. The way he does his direct mail, because I've seen it, reinforce that brand feel and look. So you don't have to be front and center. You don't have to have your face plastered all over your website, but you do need to have a value proposition then that stands out. If it's not, hey, I'm the trusted, amazing person you can connect with, it's this, and then I've got to make you feel good about my brand that I can deliver on that through client faces that are smiling.
I like that.
So that's a good example. And then we'll finish up with this last one. Then we'll open up for any Q&A or any other direction you want to take it, Brady. Simply Sold. We bring up this one quite a bit. Bo, I think, is on here today. What's up, Bo? And it's been fun seeing Bo as a multiple seven-figure wholesaler who traditionally, before coming to Carrot Camp once again and really diving in, he's like, dude, I was all an offline guy. He was an offline guy. Did a lot of, I think, cold calling when he was in the insurance business. Really built doing that type of marketing. Still has a lot of his deals come from networking and referrals from other wholesalers and agents. But he's really been picking up the steam the last couple of years with leveraging his evergreen marketing and leveraging his Carrot site and building a brand.
Yeah.
Because 7-8 years ago, I don't think he had a brand. It was Bo out there hustling for deals. But then he came to Carrot Camp, saw what others were doing in the market. He had an idea for this Simply Sold brand, and he took that and doubled down on it over the last 2 or 3 years. And now I truly feel that it is becoming a brand in his market. And I think there's a lot more opportunity to take it to the next level even more.
Oh, yeah.
As well. So same thing, Simply Sold. It's if it's about, if the words are the value prop, then let the words shine on that logo. They do have an icon that's related to real estate and a map, which I think people can relate to that. But then they have the color blue and the color green. You can see how they'll use the secondary color of the logo that pops. So there's connection there on the big button. That's good. They carry through the colors. But then if my brand is Simply Sold, what do I need to show a bunch in my marketing?
Yeah.
I need to show that things sold.
Yeah.
Right? I need to show that it was easy. I need to show that things sold. So I go down here. Hey, here's a few homes we purchased recently. Sold, all over the place.
Yeah.
And then we need to show that there was an experience. But one thing he's amazing at is he has an amazing beard, amazing smile, and he is great in front of camera with his clients and on video, which is really cool.
It's face forward, man. It's face forward.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, we got at least one question that came up, and I did a terrible job of making sure I had this question pulled up in front of me. So I'll look for it. But basically, oh man, what was the name? I can't remember. I feel so bad. I'm blanking on it. I think it was Tony Stewart, and he was basically asking Trevor, should I build a personal brand based off of one person, like a personality, a mom and pop brand, or go with a brand like Simply Sold? Like imagine Simply Sold without Bo's face. So like, do I go for more corporate franchisee like Sold Fast like Ryan Dawsey, or home buying guys? Yeah,
dude. So my philosophy on it is, I say this all the time at Carrot Camp or with our Epic group, the high level coaching group that we run. I say the vision drives every decision. Okay, so if I have a vision where I want to be wholesaling and buying houses, or being an agent, or being the HVAC guy, and my brand is the Brian the HVAC guy, and that is my vision for the next 40 years. I want to be showing up and doing that work every day, and I want the business built around me. Then I think that makes a lot of sense to have your company name be based around your name. There's a reason why Dave Ramsey, like you mentioned earlier, has not pulled himself out of his business. Number one, he probably enjoys the heck out of it. Yeah. Right. So that's number one. Is for me, my aim is never to retire. Like, I don't want to retire. I never want to retire. I want my job to continually evolve. Yeah. To always be a job that I just never want to retire from, because I enjoy my work. Right. So we're not talking about retiring here. Right. But when I look out their years, and if you do see yourself being the person running that company in 10 or 15 years, then call it Brad Buys Houses, or call it, whatever it is. Yeah. And especially if you are going to be in any way, shape, or form a person who's going to be having conversations consistently with people. Okay. Yeah. Now, with that said, one of the biggest, if not the biggest potentially, but one of the biggest home buyers in America, and one of the biggest real estate agent teams by production in America, is a company called Mark Spain. Mark Spain. Really? It's a guy. He has, if you go down in the South or the Midwest, billboards, radio, TV, everything you can imagine. This guy's a prolific marketer. His entire business is built around his name. Now, he's still really active in the business. And at that point, you can take a name like Mark Spain, or a name like Keller Williams, or a name like John L. Scott, which is another real estate brokerage, you can evolve that to be a brand. But it takes some work, because you then do have to do what we've been talking about. If you say, well, I got to figure out and write down what is it that this brand embodies? Like, what are those traits? What are those things? And then you have to slowly start to add in team members and leaders, which is great. You have to make sure that they support that. And then all of a sudden, rather than like with Papa John's, where they got in trouble, is it was named after him, Papa John, right? Not like his literal name, but it's John, the pizza maker, instead of Pizza Hut. When Papa John says something that the shareholders don't like, what happens to Papa John? He's got to go now.
Yeah.
Right. So because he's still tied to the identity of that company. So but if you see yourself a vision where it's like, no, I want to build this thing where it's an amazing team, and I don't want it to be based off of my name, and you can come up with a name and a brand that resonates.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, pick something like that. Like I didn't do trevorbuildswebsites.com. We did Carrot, because I'm like, yeah, I am tightly tied to Carrot brand wise, of course.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with some moves, we can make sure that Carrot is equipped with the right people to carry the brand forward, while actually delivering even a better service if eventually I wanted to step to the next new company or something like that. But yeah, vision drives every decision.
Yeah.
What does your vision have in store for you? And if you are wanting to run that company and be the guy, make it your company name.
Yeah.
Make it your name.
I think that's really good advice. The vision drives every decision. You have to like it. I think it's a good gut indicator. Like, does your vision pump you up? Does it sound fun? Is that a brand that you want to get behind? Is it going to be fun to market?
Yeah.
We humans will naturally want to do things that are more fun and more interesting.
Yeah.
So make it easier on yourself. Like, do you want to market more of a personal brand or a big professional company? Which one are you going to put more work into?
Exactly.
I think that'll help drive it.
Yep, exactly. Great question.
Well, that's all the questions we got for today. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for hopping on, watching with us live, everyone. Hope you got value out of this. If you have any feedback, let us know. Excuse me, drop us a comment or shoot me an email, brady@carrot.com. Join us next week. Next week, we're going live at our usual time at 11. I will not be. I will be in Mexico on a boat with my wife, celebrating an anniversary. Trevor and Mallory are going to be talking about the Google leak. And now that some time has passed, what are we seeing with the Google leak? What does it mean for people? And what do you really need to know about this massive leak that came out of Google? What are the nuts and bolts of it? And how do you do something with it? So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. It's going to be good stuff. But yeah, otherwise, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Have an awesome time, guys. See ya.